so this is nice and cool. But when you're out in the heat, if this perspiration runs in, it's just slippy.
Yeah.
It's too slippy.
Well, it sounds lovely today. I
Yeah.
thought, I just wondered because I'm sitting here and I know I'm just stiff, like it's partly due to, well, I'm well prepared, but it's partly the lights that dazzle my back.
Well, the lights are hot.
Pardon?
Lights are hot. The
That's
lights
right.
are hot.
That's right.
Get used to that.
So tomorrow morning I see you again. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, there are 600 here because the place is jammed.
That's like a mountain.
Yeah.
I don't see it like that too often.
Yeah. So you're still with the.
Yeah, I've had a week at home, and this week and part of next week,
Right.
and then I go to Woodbridge, New Jersey,
Right.
and play in three different Trenton, New Jersey, um, Atlantic City, someplace else in Jersey. Then I go to Wilmington, Delaware, Annapolis, Maryland, at the United States Naval Base.
Right. Oh,
And
this
I
should
have
be fun.
yeah, I have a
do have, other than your guests, we do have some
I
here.
don't think we have that many guests, so you'll probably be able to get them in. Okay, that's good. That's a lot of
it might be easier to gauge because I've got it switched over.
Yeah, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the academic procession and the Chancellor.
I declare that the 567th convocation of McMaster University for the conferring of degrees is now in session.
Please be seated. Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Dr. Leonard Waverman. It's my honor to be the Dean of the Groot School of Business. This afternoon, I have the great pleasure of welcoming you, all of you, graduates and guests, to this convocation ceremony. I would like to start by recognizing and acknowledging that we meet today on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee nations and within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. I also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge some of the notable leaders joining me on stage today. Dr. Suzanne Labarge, our Chancellor, Dr. Patrick Dean, President and Vice Chancellor, Dr. David Wilkinson, Provost, Vice President Academic, and today's Master of Ceremonies. Ms. Mary Williams, Vice President, University Advancement. Associate and Assistant Vice Presidents, Associate Deans, Directors, Chairs, faculty members, including my lovely wife, Dr. Eva Klein, and honored guests. So, the Groot School of Business, we consider ourselves a modern millennial business. We are a platform like Facebook. Facebook connects people. We connect students with employers and society. We do that through a production process where students come in from high schools and they spend 4, hopefully only 4, years at the Groot, and they are transformed into business leaders. This transformation process is due to the people who are sitting on the stage, our faculty and staff. Without them, our mission of producing graduates who transform business and society would be impossible. And I'd like to thank our faculty and staff for everything they've done for you. I graduated with a Bachelor of Commerce from an unknown named university in downtown Toronto. Thank you. With a major in accounting many years ago. And let me say, standing here today, I am so proud of all of you. I can remember being in a much smaller arena like this a number of years ago, and I understand how you're feeling, but understand how we, your teachers, are feeling seeing you today and understanding that you are the source of our future. Thank you all, students. And soon graduates. Before we start our formal program, may I first ask everyone in the hall, switch off any electronic device that may ring or beep during the ceremony. I would now like to call upon our Chancellor, Dr. Suzanne Labarge, to make her own welcoming remarks.
Welcome, honored guests, staff, faculty, families, friends, and most importantly, graduands. This is an exciting day for all of you who are graduating today, as well as for all those people who have supported you and stood behind you, and in many cases have had a key role in you being here today. You have all achieved a great deal to get here, and you should all be very proud of your success and looking forward to what the future might bring. Congratulations, and enjoy the ceremony.
I am Dr. David Wilkinson, Provost and Vice President Academic of the University. I have the great pleasure of acting today as your Master of Ceremonies. I would like to welcome Dr. Patrick Dean, President and Vice Chancellor, to the podium, who will be presenting the honorary degree recipients.
Madam Chancellor, by the authority of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honor to present Cynthia Dale and Peter Mansbridge. Cynthia Dale and Peter Mansbridge are, respectively, the faces of two enduring Canadian cultural institutions, the Stratford Festival and CBC's The National. Mr. Mansbridge is the chief correspondent of CBC News, anchoring the flagship nightly news program, The National, as well as all CBC News specials. He is also the host of Mansbridge One-on-One, a series of in-depth interviews with leading Canadian and international newsmakers. Mr. Mansbridge began his career in Fort Churchill, Manitoba, where he helped develop CBC Radio's Northern Canada News Service. He worked in Winnipeg before joining CBC Television with postings in Saskatchewan and then on Parliament Hill. He became the anchor of The National in 1988, and in that role provided Canadians with news and analysis of such historic events as the Meech Lake Accord, the Quebec referendum, the Gulf War, 9/11, and the Parliament Hill shootings. He has interviewed everyone from Margaret Thatcher to Ringo Starr and from Bill Gates to Desmond Tutu. He is the only Canadian journalist to have interviewed President Barack Obama. The author of the best-selling Peter Mansbridge One-on-One, Favorite Conversations and the Stories Behind Them, Mr. Mansbridge has earned more than a dozen national awards for broadcast journalism. A generous philanthropist who supports a number of scholarships across the country, as well as the Mansbridge Family Environment Fund in Stratford, Mr. Mansbridge is an officer of the Order of Canada, and he is also currently serving as Chancellor of Mount Allison University. Cynthia Dale is also one of the most familiar faces from Canadian television and is well known as an actor, singer, and dancer. She performed extensively on stage and television as a child, working with a number of the giants of Canadian entertainment, including Tommy Hunter and Wayne and Schuster. Rising to national prominence with her Gemini-nominated role as Olivia Novak in the groundbreaking CBC drama Street Legal, Ms. Dale had previously achieved big screen success with roles in The Boy in Blue, playing opposite Nicolas Cage, and in Norman Jewison's classic Moonstruck. Ms. Dale's work in television and film also includes executive and producing and starring in Christmas Dreams. She has devoted the bulk of her time, however, to the stage. She won a Dora Maver Moore Award for Best Actress in a Musical for her work in Pal Joey, and has been a triple threat, acting, singing, and dancing, at the Stratford Festival, where she has brought an impressive list of celebrated roles to life, including Maria in The Sound of Music, Annie Sullivan in The Miracle Worker, Sarah Brown in Guys and Dolls, Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady, and Maggie in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Ms. Dale has a bronze star on the Stratford Festival Walk of Fame. An accomplished musical performer and recording artist, Ms. Dale created the Cynthia Dale Scholarship for the Arts at Mount Allison University and supports a number of literacy programs. She joins her husband in supporting the Mansbridge Family Environment Fund, and she works with several local organizations, as well as the Hospital for Sick Children. Madam Chancellor, it is a privilege to present to you two people who have been at the center of our national spotlight for decades and have made significant contributions to our country through their professional, volunteer, and philanthropic endeavors. I ask, Madam Chancellor, that you recognize the impact of their work by conferring matching Doctor of Laws degrees honoris causa upon Cynthia Dale and Peter Mansbridge.
Peter Mansbridge, by the authority of McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa in McMaster University with all the rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. Cynthia Dale, by the authority of McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa in McMaster University with all the rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. Congratulations. Congratulations. I'll just sign over here. I would now like to invite Dr. Mansbridge and Dr. Dale to deliver the convocation address.
Madam Chancellor, President Dean, honored guests, soon-to-be graduates, family, and friends. The first time I appeared on stage, I was 5 years old. I was a kid in the chorus of a production of Finian's Rainbow at the Royal Alexandra Theatre in Toronto. And it was then that I realized I wanted to spend the rest of my life in show business. I wanted to act and sing and dance for a living. I wanted to follow the dream and dream big. So I studied acting and singing and dancing all my life. In fact, I still get myself into ballet classes. But I wish that someone had explained to me when I was a lot younger of the business of show. Because I am a business. I've produced my own CDs. I pay agents or publicists. I've produced television, and I've created concerts across the country. So I wish someone had suggested or even insisted that I take a business degree. It would have helped me a lot. It would have given me an edge of confidence in facing unknowns that so often seem insurmountable. And it may have made those times that seemed hopeless just a little more hopeful. Standing here today, I am overwhelmed and unbelievably grateful for this honor and acknowledgement of my accomplishments. I am so proud to stand here with you and honor all of your hard work, because I believe in hard work. I applaud it. And I actually don't think you should always get kudos for it. It's just doing your job. Giving 100% does not deserve a bonus. It's the sweet spot of more than 100% that stands out, makes a mark, and reaps the biggest and brightest rewards. And if you are doing what you love to do, well, who are we kidding? It is work and it is hard to do. But the connection to joy becomes that much richer. I was lucky, have been lucky. I have made my living being an artist, doing what I felt my heart and soul needed to do. And even though you have been strong and brave enough to put in all the hours of work that got you to this place here today, it still doesn't guarantee that you know exactly what is going to happen for you when you walk out of here and into the world. When my parents' generation decided on a career, most of them stuck with it until retirement. It was an either-or generation. You were either this or that. You had this life or that life. Well, you are all part of the and generation. You can do this and this and that, and you will do that and that. It's the way the world works now. You may have many different careers in your lifetime and create any number of different opportunities for yourself. How fantastic it will be to watch all of that happen. All the love and hopes of people in your life, the connections you've made and the work you've put in, all of that now is part of your DNA. And the world is just waiting for you to tattoo it with your dreams. It is your right and your job to follow your bliss. Follow your better angels. And what you are graduating with today can help make that happen. You have already taken the first steps of having the courage that is needed to launch yourself into a world of possibilities. Trust your choices. Do what you love. Get used to the space between hope and fear. And live in the integrity of your own bliss. Thank you.
So, I was thinking that They should probably change the opening to the National now. Good evening. I'm Dr. Peter Mansbridge. You heard in the citation that I'm also the Chancellor of Mount Allison, so I'm used to days like this, and I love days like this because it shows the inspiration and the courage, the dedication and the emotion of those of you who are graduating today. It also has given me a front row seat as Chancellor to watching all those different moments with students as they cross the stage, and I have the opportunity to shake their hands. A couple of years ago, I was standing there, and this young woman, graduate, came up to me, and she shook my hand, and I could feel immediately that there was something in the palm of her hand, and she was trying to get me to take it. And I looked at her and I said, "What is that?" And she said, "It's a thumb drive." And I thought, this could be dangerous. So I said, "What's on it?" She said, "It's my resume." She had a job in a week. Not from me, although I did put her name forward, but she was clearly shaking a lot of hands. And she got a good job and is doing extremely well. So there are a lot of things you see on a day like this. Madam Chancellor, President Dean, guests, graduands, family and friends, who so many of whom surround you today, as they have all your lives. It's one of the special moments about this day, those who are around you, including the faculty and staff of this great institution. It's an honor for me to be here at McMaster alongside all of you who are graduating today. What you have accomplished is truly admirable. You have every right to be very proud, every right to celebrate, as I'm sure you will. And so do your friends and family have all those rights on this day as well. The honorary degree recipients, part of the role is they're supposed to leave you with a message. The great Canadian actor, Lorne Greene, most of you would know who he is, but your parents and your grandparents would remember him. He received an honorary degree once, and he went up to the podium and he looked at the students, he said, "Buy a good mattress. You're going to spend a third of the rest of your life sleeping in it. You might as well be comfortable." Then he sat down. That was it. That was great advice. I'm not going to be that short, but I'm not going to be that long either. But I have been thinking about what I wanted to talk to you about, and it's very important for me to say these words. Today's extra special for me because I get to share it with Cynthia. She spoke to you about the value of a business degree, and I couldn't agree more. Business teaches you incredible skills, incredible life skills, including listening to and drawing upon the talents of others. Whenever I've witnessed a successful business, it's always because of a strong team, a team that brings together different skills, different strengths, different perspectives. We can learn a lot about respecting the opinions of others from watching how business functions. A good business is only as good as the people who are a part of it, and a great business is only great because it builds on the talents of those people. Together, they see their world as bigger than individual problems, bigger than individual successes. They see in each other what unites them, not what divides them. They see the big picture, the one that benefits everyone. That is the desired goal of business. I wish as a society we'd take a lesson from that, because I fear we may be moving in the opposite direction, away from an appreciation of differences to reach a common goal, away from understanding the benefits of different points of view. And that concerns me greatly. Look, the world is a complicated place. It's also a dangerous place, not only from war or terror or disease, all of which rightly consume us and challenge the way we live every day, but also from something much more subtle. We seem to be losing the will, not the ability, but the will to understand each other, to recognize that having different perspectives can be a good thing. We're relishing our divisions in a way that scares me, because when you start identifying people or their views as the other, well, that's when problems begin. It's the inability to accept points of view that we don't share. It's our lack of caring to understand things that don't fit into our worldview. It's at best belittling those who don't agree with us. It's at worst hating those who don't agree with us. Hate, that is by far the greatest danger we face today. You know, I always look at the end of a hockey series in the playoffs, like we did last night. Two teams full of players who give it everything in the biggest game of their lives, who are out there ready to pummel each other, and often do. Yet when it's over, there they are, lining up, shaking hands, laughing, even in some cases hugging. Now, I don't know how sincere it is, but it's always struck me, and somehow this playoff season perhaps more than ever. I don't mean to trivialize the seriousness of the issues we face. The things that we often disagree on are much bigger than a hockey game. They're about our values, our livelihoods, the safety of our family and friends. The things that divide us, they are big things, and we cannot ignore that, and we shouldn't. We need to face our disagreements and our divisions head on, but with passion and with conviction and with respect. Because, as I said, I sense that some of us have lost the ability to disagree without being mean. I could give you examples, big, small, true, false, but again, you're all smart people. You're wired people. You know that spending 10 minutes on social media will be enough to cover the spectrum. That's how this pattern I worry about started, with anonymous trolls who relish in disrupting and shocking and outraging our collective moral sense of being. Now, I wish it was just that small, insignificant, disruptive group, but it's not. Social media has exploded with hate from those very willing to identify themselves. In some cases, they're our neighbors, our friends, our leaders, our family. But hateful comments have moved beyond social media, way beyond that. They're in our politics, in our media, on our streets, in our classrooms, in our living rooms. Now, let me be clear, I'm not suggesting that everyone is like this, not at all. But the bar of what was once unacceptable has shifted, and it's hurting us as a society. This is a massive challenge. It's up to each of us, and now especially each of you, to take this on. This is not some abstract, be nice to others message. This is serious. It needs to be taken seriously. It needs to be challenged ferociously by each and every one of us in everything that we do, in every choice that we make. We need to challenge messages of fear, of hate, of falsehoods, head on and with conviction, but not with more hate. Respect does not mean being weak or being quiet or being complicit. The time for nuance and kid gloves is done. Stand up against what you see as unacceptable. Fight against it with everything that you have. The decisions you make for yourself when you walk out of this room will help chart the course of not just your future, but our future. Not just what you do, but how you do it. So do it with compassion. Do it with kindness. But always do it with respect. Govern your own behavior and set an example for others. Because if you don't do it, no one will. We have incredible faith in you. You give us hope. I see what you've accomplished today from the DeGroote School of Business, an institute as respected as any in the country. Each of you opened your minds while here. Don't close them now. We need you. We depend on you. It's up to you to change the way we communicate, the way we talk to each other, the way we think about each other. We need you, simply put, to change our world. The challenge is that big. I know you're up for it. I know you're going to be great. And we are going to thank you for it. Thank you for this moment in my life. It's truly an honor. Congratulations to all of you, including Dr. Cynthia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mansbridge and Dr. Dale, for your wonderful comments. It's an extreme privilege for us to be able to now include you in the McMaster family. Dr. Dale and Dr. Mansbridge are part of what created the Canada we all enjoy today. They have, over the years, inspired us, informed us, and amused us. And to a large extent, that's exactly what they did in their comments today. And there's an awful lot. We laughed, we listened, and they gave us a lot to think about. And it's for this reason that I have to say that as an MBA, I'm awfully grateful they didn't go down that path. The country would be poorer without the paths they'd chosen, and besides, I'm sure they provide employment for a number of us. But I do, again, want to just thank them enormously for their comments today, and again, welcome them to the McMaster family.
Dr. Patrick Dean will now come forward to present the graduands to our Chancellor for admission to their degrees.
Will the graduands please stand? Madam Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, I present to you these candidates in order that you may confer the appropriate degrees upon them, and I bear witness that they are worthy and suitable. May I also request that you confer the appropriate degrees in absentia upon all those candidates who have successfully completed the required course of study, but who are not present.
Graduands, by my authority and that of the McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to admit to those before me today and those in absentia to their individual degrees in McMaster University with all the rights and privileges pertaining to those degrees. My sincere congratulations to you all. Please be seated.
Graduates, I now ask each of you to join me on stage so that the Chancellor and I may welcome you to the McMaster community of scholars.
Ladies and gentlemen, so that each graduate's name may be heard, it would be appreciated if during the presentation of the graduates, you would hold your collective applause to the end of each degree category. Thank you. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Michael Stephen Dohan. Zhao Cheng Zheng. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Business. Cynthia Abraham. Pooja Sunil Agrawal. Bahram Amini. Muhammad Faizan Ashraf. Jungo Max Bey. Nicholas Edward Dennis Becker. Lauren Deborah Elizabeth Bentham. Lauren is also the winner of DM Hedden Gold Medal. Wesley Berube Jansen. Ankit Barali. Jessica Susan Bond. Kevin Charles Burke. Kevin is also the winner of the R.J. Spence Memorial Medal. Elizabeth Megan Byron. Jorge Armando Alejandro Caballero Parra. Kristen Canario. Mengchi Kao. David Chen. Chengyu Chen. Yan Chen. Daniel Chow. Bradley Allen David Clark. Frank Peter Colella. Alexandra Marie Coulter. Matthew Dylan Thomas Curry. Sean Michael Curtin. Anna Aletta D'Angela. Ji Jun Deng. Hong Den. Jacob Simon Dockstater. Andrew James Dolan. Julia DeVernock. Amy Dick. Jenica Lauren Falco. Deanna Fan. Brian Fensky. Daniel Conrad Fitzgerald. Jamie Victoria Foster Bartlett. Jeremy Regan Garton. Nipun Gotham. Palvasha Ghani. Ishwar Guman. Adrian Gobardhan. Shelby Leigh Gorel. Archam Gutter. Luke Francis Haynes. G. Hang. Tamara Hardwar. Jeffrey Hare. Laura Elizabeth Harrington. Nicholas Harster. Derek Nolan Helt. Robert Hills. Stephanie Claire Hopler. Yaji Hao. Peng Hu. Yinyu Huang. Zain Hussain. Andrea Elkek. Tyler Johnson. Janki Joshi. Priyas Kalita. Adam Karoli. Brandon Norman Dimert Kennedy. Azman Kawaja. David Kidon. Brianna Lee Knowlton. Bindu Somia Kovuru. Chantal Deschamps. Jonathan Freddie Lang. Zilon Cohn LeBlanc. Daniela Lenzo. Shia Lee. Yonhua Lee. Jianwei Lu. Jason Lam. Lena Ma. Lena is also the winner of the Basu Medal. Kate Alexandra Melanie. Enid Maria Negam. William Hayden Matthews. Salar Mehrad. Monique Nicole Milevska. Kyle Lindsay Miller. Cameron Alexander Miote. Minesh Arvind Mistry. Ross Earl Moffat. Alia Mohammed. Lujain Musa. Anna Geraldine Murray. Anam Nadeem. Vineet Nagia. Naheen Jawad Nazmul. Paul Lone Nigu. Mitchell Elliott Newman. Leo Oviedo. Philip Gilbert Palmieri. Daniel Panzer. Bansari Ketan Kumar Patel. Denise Nicole Pinto. Veronica Jessica Praise. Roy Chen. Area Reis Firouj. Mark James Riley. Jason Herbert Rieger. Nathan Bailey Rinsler. Leah Robertson. Christian Rito Rosadi. Katie Rubinoff. Mridul Sadavarthi. Bhavneet Kaur Sambi. Jordan John Sartor. Sarah Elaine Schwinberger. Prashant Sharma. Ran Sheng. Are Schulman. Nicholas Simonchek. Anthony Sledgers. Alexandra Joy Smith. Matthew William Alexander Smith. Yutong Song. David Nelson Spencer. Gordy Stewart. Ulisa Sudak. Chianwen Sun. Jordan Scott Taylor. Nausheen Wasta. Nikita Waswani. Puneet Singh Vardi. Minuja Vishwathasan. Lianthi Hyong Wu. Alexandra Pauline Walker. Patrick Wang. Sherry Wang. Yang Chiu-Jing Wang. Curtis Cameron Warren. Michael Albert Widelicki. Mitchell Wilson. Yuyuke Wu. Fai Shi. Kai-Shen Shi. Shiran Yang. Yuan Yuan. Jishu Yuan. Mark Magdi Adel Zeki. Yaoren Zhang. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Finance. Ji Chen. Yue Deng. Shu Han. Xiuling He. Mengdi Huang. Yufang Huang. Jiaqi Li. Yingda Li. Yueying Li. Jiai Lin. K. Meng. Lina Mao. Junji Piao. Ning Shi. Liu Jian Tang. Sikong Tian. Zhengyu Tian. Maylin Wang. Mengyao Wang. Yinglu Wang. Danyang Wei. Lingguan Xia. Dandy Shi. Chenru Chu. Mengche Yi. Yang Mei Yi. Jingshu Yin. Hejian Zhang. Shuo Zhao. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Health Management. Noel Bennett. Yulia Bieberberg. Romina Lisa Calisi. Heather Louise Camden. Noreen Elizabeth Chan. Jocelyn Sandra Copeland. Kim DeHaan. Carrie Lynn DeVactor. Mary Lynn Dingwell. Yvonne Elizabeth Avonick. Jillian Jane Fennick. Aulia Giga. J. Ashley Graham. Kimberly A. Hendrick. Christine Elizabeth Hill. Donna Kern. Susan Elizabeth Comer Smith. J.D. Y. Yi Low. Catherine Makowski. Edith McDonald. Mary M. Melton. Deep Shikha Misri. April Rose Mullen. Catherine Nolan. Melanie Raffel. Valerie Karen Wren. Lundy Ray Richards. Hillary Rodriguez. Tanya M. Roglic. Adrian Saulonga. Denise Sartor. Kyle Cheong Su. Catherine Lynn Turnbull. David Frederick Ure. Michael Wallegora. Stacy Ann Williams. Lee Yates.
Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Commerce. Marimawit Abera. Hira Abid. Yannick Walter James Adair. Arber Ago. Shiza Ahmed. Connor Akins. Tyler James Itchison. Diana Albanese. Khalid Andrew Alido. Savil Alizadi Najmi. Lucas Alexander Alega. Misbah Anis. Basir Anwar. Pardeep Singh Ark. Roberta Asaf Costabil. Stuart Dale Atkinson. Kayla Marissa Ewald, Navid Azam, Natalia Baniak, Raul Bansal, Anthony Salvatori Baresi, Piranavan Baskaran, Jasjeet Kaur Basra, Jasmeet Kaur Bath, Jessica Battaglia, Ranveer Singh Batu, Brianna Beachy, Sean Belford, Alana Catherine Bentley, Alexander Charles Benz, Jordan Anthony Benvenuto, Diana Betts, Siang Bayan, Kevin James Bilsland, Eric Stephen Blaine, Jordan Blair, Riley Dawn Booth, Alistair Henry Bolby, Giancarlo Eduardo Brisani, Robert Douglas Brown, Andrew Alexander Bryant, Riley Daniel Buchanan, Yusuf Ahmed Bortali, Rebecca Botkovicius, Craig Riley Caldwell, Sean Campbell, David Cariati, Kayla Celestini, Sining Sen, Benapal Chahal, Angus James Chalmers, Chelsea Chuk Chi Chan, Hoi Fong Chan, Jeremy Chan, Daljit Shima, David Chen, Konjia Chen, Qian Hong Chen, Yi Chen, Su Tuan Cheng, James Stephen Chiroti, Aaron Jean Cheng Cho, Yewer Chogti, Nicholas Chui, Nikki Laura Clark, Julia Rose Coburn, Amy Cochran, Rafael Colonna, Ariana Conciatori, Eric Gordon Corbett, Tyler Savina Costa Correa, Aaron Michael Cousins, Hannah-Lynn Craig, Daniel De Cruz, Joshua De Silva, Ryan Dacunha, Noor Dababni, Nicholas Richard Davies, Cassidy Rose Davis. Cassidy is also the winner of the E. H. Ambrose Gold Medal. Adrian Jonathan D. Visser, Kevin Mitchell Deckert, Daniel John Del Favero, Christina Nicole Del Sordo, Claudia Di Luca, Azan Devji, Chanpreet Daliwal, Kamal Dami, Darren DeMarco, Catherine Margaret Dolson, Amir Du, Brent William Downey, Casper Dubicki, Christopher William Duffield, Tess Ecclestone, Connor Jonathan Eckland, Jade Amber El Jabri, Parto Itimadi, Veronica Marie Foucault, Christopher Folatico, Luana Faria Ficelli, Conrad Farr, Alexis Nicole Farsalas, Ghassan Rad Fituhi, Veronica Vidorovich, Boris Verzak, Ina Fishenko, Vanessa Marie Finelli, Matthew David Finn, Joshua Brandon Francis, Alistair Gab, Jessica Sarah Galbraith, Alexander Francis Gali, Wei Zhao Go, Jean Gelfen-Bidin, Marco Angelo Giancaro, Jagandeep Gill. Aaron Giroux. Tyler Gladden. Michael David Gutkowski. Brittany Lee Golding. Abhi Goyal. Amelia Holly Bernice Grant. Rachel Catherine Graziuto. Cole Douglas Greer. Luca Grusso. Camille Grigorchik. Ryan Joseph Gualiano. Valerie Paula Guerra. Daniel Vincent Goli Elmo. Jeremy Emmett Haggerty. Mian Muhammad Amar Hamid. Harold Stanley Guy Hammond. Naveen Hamwi. Cheng Hao Han. Scott Hansen. Rachel Elizabeth Harrington. Suleiman Hassan. Sean Cameron Hawkins. Braden Vincent Hersix. Daniel Robert Higgins. Matthew Garrick Hilson. Justin Garth Hahn. Lisa Hong. Chingye Wang. Wenyuan Wang. Xuan Wang. Zhen Wang. Evan Hunt. Pei Yen Wang. Kelly Yatumasi. Carly Ihas. Arij Erfan. Matthew Italiano. Michael Agobaki Itumo Gbor. Kevin James Patrick Jarchenko. Maisum Jaffer. Akanshka Jaiswal. Nilofer Yasmin Jalil. Christina Ashley Javier. Jalal Iqbal Jawed. Jian Jiang. Jian Zhao. Qingling Jin. Anthony Joe. Priscilla Rachel John. Braden Tyler Jones. Nathan John Jones. Samantha Nicole Jones. Matthew Kenneth Judd. Kilna Kalyani. Brandon Dean Candia. Stephen Paul Keating. Hayden Keenan. Nathan Jeffrey Kennedy. Yazan Khalifi. Muhammad Salim Khan. Sarah Khan. Siresh Khan. Sarah Sujan Kim. Aaron Kimber. Elise Knight. Ashley Klinetich. Samantha Kuzera. Dominique Marie Kravchenko. Derek Chek Fong Lai. Sean Barat Lal. Rachel Lindsay Lam. Ari Laniado. Eric Mario Larkin. Kristen Susan Loricella. Amanda Law. Hermes Ming Hei Lee. Eric Lears. Pei Pei Lee. Ji Lee. Lin Len. Yiji Lin. Isabella Linares Riano. Adam Nicholas Lovell. Kai Wen Lu. Amy Lu. Richard Lee. All right. Alex Joseph Lyon. Yan Ma. Brandon Michael Mack. Helen Bowder McKenzie. Logan James Medill. Emily Mailman. Laura Malatesta. Momna Malik. Alexander Robert Mandarino. Wayne Manuel. Andre Joseph Marini. Brian Walter Mason. Kristen Eileen Masula. Francis Joseph Mateo. Greg Matsis. Chloe Matthews. Jacqueline McDonald. Tyler A. McEvoy. Tyler is also the winner of the Basu Medal. Tashel McFarlane. Alexandra Madison McKay. Ethan Mackenzie Halls. Sarah Ann McLaughlin. Alina Medvedeva. Jason Dino Medves. Bennett Thomas May Gary. Alexei Melnik. Michael Joseph Mercer. Agnes Mikulowski. Stefan Mayok. Adia Pierali Mitani. Demetrios James Mitrothanasis. Marina Mogos. Sarah Aliyah Mohammed. Mackenzie Mondaziri. Alisa Kendra Morrison. Frederick Douglas Morton. Cole William John Munden. Shrila Mondler. Daniel Allen Monroe. Catherine Brittany Murden. Heather Caroline Murphy. Cody Morel. Catherine Ki-Kyong Nam. Alexander Natalizio. Juliette Navarro. Miranda Pearl Neal. Jordan Nelson. Victor Nisick. Isaac Jordan Newell. Catherine Nguyen. Liam Dat Nguyen. Mary Suzanne Nguyen. Henry Nguyen. Mohammed Ahmed Niazi. Matthew Taylor Nishimura. Laiba Noor. Kiwi Ogbaran. Arshia Usmani. Daniel Jose Osorio. Joshua Ethan Oxtoby. Aman Pal Singh Pada. James Thomas Palmieri. Renshan Pan. Jacob Samuel Panagakos. Jainil Akshay Pandya. Kisok Paramanathan. Michael Philip James Parisi, Melanie Robin Park, Chelsea Andre Parker, Matthew Thomas Parliament, Sophia Peteropoulos, Thomas Fletcher Allen Patterson, Calvin Chi-Wai Pau, Santino P. Cora, Brian Peter Pedron, Evelina Petrosen, Jonathan Phibbs, Catherine Piccola, Julia Pileggi, Trent Lois Badri Barak, Natalie Rose Porco, Tong Chen Chu, Yang Chen Chuan, Stefan Radenkovic, Andrew Joseph Ramadori, Almina Ramik, Mohammed Fateh Rashid, Jan Edward Reed, Michael John Reel, Anthony Rida, Alexandra Mary Rizardo, Brendan Douglas Rockel, Alison Russell, Kelsey Russell, Camilo Russo, Steve Saini, Jaspreet Sangha, Tarngeet Sound, Jamie Barry Robert Scholl, Bronwyn Alexandra Ferguson Scott, Ryan Thomas Rudy Seichter, Giuseppe Sestito, Zhao Tong Shang, Jordan D. Shaw, Musa Masood Sheikh, Jason Shen, Yuan Bo Shen, Brian Michael Sherwood, Erica Jane Shum, Charanjiyot Sido, Andrew Silva, Tony Ann Dagion Sims, Sarah Marie Sims, Erin John Sinclair, Catherine Elizabeth Siwak, Teresa Nikesia Sukdar, Brandon Charlie Suknanan, Kevin Julian Suto, Evan Spadaro, Ryan Stegmeyer, Emily Still, Elisa Stone, Jean Ting Su, Leonard Anthony Suarez, Xerxes Suchak, Han Yu Sun, Yang Yang Sun, Alexander Sutherland, Hiba Ahmed Sayed, Abid Sayed, Varen Sylvester, Sarah Elizabeth Takabari, Jessica Helen Tate, Sushin Talwar, Chi Singh Russell Tang, Zilong Tang, Isha Tanvir, Alexander John Taylor, Caitlin John Taylor, Arissima Tiklemariam, Marcos Maidong Tian, Alexandra Maria Tenbera, Darren Michael Trainer, Hai Tran Dai An, Sivya Soy Tran, Trang Thao Trong, Zhenyu Tu, Rebecca Tummers, Melissa Ann Turner, Saloni Tiage, Siddharth Manju Odayan, Brittany Orcioli, Dustin Van, Elisa Stephanie Van Veen, Gabriela Marinova Vasileva. Gabriel is also the class valedictorian. Dominic John Van Treska, Marcel Alexander Verhey, Nitharasin Vigneswaren, Mark Sami Safwat Wanas, Juan Bin Wang, Yi Bing Wang, Jerry Wang, Ji-John Wang, Ji-Chi Wang, Ryan Alexander Watts, Meg Wei, Yusen Wei, Rachel Michaela Wickert, Hua Wen, Benjamin William White, Alicia Marie Wilson, John Randall Whipperman, Calvin Wang. Pak Ming Wang. Vincent Wang. Corinne Carmen Wu. Carson Wood. Andrew Wooning. Rachel Lee Wright. Sasha Aubrey Wright. Wei Chen Wu. Yu Qian Wu. Ji Yi Wu. Chanya Chu. Vrej Jacobian. Xiaoyu Yang. Han Yi. Yuting Yi. Wen Yin. Kyle Daniel Yipchak. Chai Yun Yu. Chao Shuang Yu. Yu Jing Yuan. Bianca Bello Zaragoza. Luana Zdroba. Hao Qian Zheng. Kai Zhan. Jinfeng Chang. Kei Zhang. Qian Wei Zhang. Jeremy Zhang. Siting Zhang. Zhukan Zhang. Zhuwen Zhang. Lanzhou Zhao. Jillian Jen Rao Zhao. Ruan Zheng. Frank Zheng. Wei Sheng Jason Zhao. Julie Zhu. Yani Peter Zorbas. Ega Zygmunt. Last one, right? Lauren Zilek. Congratulations. I should take a bow now. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Commerce. Daniel Bickers. Sandra Liliana Hernandez Fuentes. Nicholas Richard Rizzo. Congratulations.
A little bit of a marathon, but we've made it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to ask you to join me in one final round of applause for the graduates of this year's class of 2017. I would now like to introduce Ms. Gabriela Vasileva, a graduate of the Bachelor of Commerce Honours Program, who will be delivering the valedictory address.
Good afternoon and welcome, Chancellor Labarge, President Dean, DeGroote School of Business faculty and staff, honored guests, and most importantly, the graduates of the class of 2017. Congratulations on completing this chapter filled with everlasting friendships, a place you can always call home, and the official completion of approximately 40 exams and 3 times as many midterms, essays, group projects, and assignments, but who's counting? I am unbelievably honored and thankful to have the opportunity to speak to you today. You may not realize it now, but this room contains the next generation of entrepreneurs, executives, professors, etc. Pretty impressive. But for now, I'm sure most of us are a tad confused, and it's totally normal to feel that way. After all, for many of us, this is the first September that we'll have to reach for a briefcase instead of a backpack. Yikes. So I think back to September 2016, which was probably the most confusing month of my life, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate. And it didn't help that that is when the round of questioning started becoming fired. And I'm sure you have some personal favorites, but I'll share mine with you today. So, what are you up to next year? So what's your 5-year plan? Like, are you going back to school? Are you just going to work now? And my personal favorite, where do you see yourself in 20 years? We have all experienced these questions come firing at us from every direction, from family dinner parties to studying in DSB Cafe. Nowhere was safe this year. Now, we have all started to embark in different directions. Some of us have already started working. Some of us are taking the summer off. But what we all know for certain is this. From this point forward, from today on, we are all starting on a blank canvas. And that is a very daunting thought. Why leave a good thing after all? But in no particular rhythm or order, we will all get ready to take the Canadian business landscape by storm. Now, I hope you realize that the beautiful yet pricey piece of paper you received today symbolizes so much more than your coursework. The sum of our takeaways from our time at McMaster could never be measured on our trusty Scantron. You see, Aristotle once said that educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. While yes, we can agree that textbooks and lecture slides have provided us with knowledge, we cannot say that they have provided us with an education. No, there are 2 key critical components missing in that equation. The first is the astonishing faculty and staff at the DeGroote School of Business who have motivated and supported us to achieve all that we can, whether it be in our academics or in our extracurriculars. They have taught us the ins and outs of our trade, and without them, we could not walk across the stage today. And secondly, we should also thank our peers in the figure-flattering robes amongst us. You see, they have provided us with the most invaluable life lessons that we could ever expect to receive. We have taught each other that we is always greater than I, that we can only accomplish something if we have mutual trust in one another, and that we learn the most when our opinions are challenged and tested. If we take a stroll through memory lane, we'll see a lot of these examples come to life. Welcome Week, for instance, took us all outside of our comfort zones to varying degrees and helped us find the people that would transform McMaster from an educational institution to a place that we can call home. Second year, if we think to that rough time when we had midterms every single weekend, sometimes Friday, Saturday, back to back, that year taught us how to support one another, no matter how hard it took. Yes, those that struggle together stay together. And our 3MC3 group project taught us how to manage our time successfully without ripping each other's heads off. And CAPSUM, memories are still too fresh. You see, as a university student, realistically, you spend more time with your peers and your friends than you do with your family. So we are so thankful and so fortunate to have attended a school where we all crave to see one another flourish, grow, and succeed. So now, let's thank those that have studied with us in Innis and in Thode until morning, indulged in lava pizza with us after good and very, very bad midterms, and those that have sung their hearts out with us at Snooty's Karaoke, West End Karaoke, and Emerson Karaoke, because sometimes you just need a study break. When I reflect on our years at Mac, I like to think that we have gained a degree, first and foremost, and also a pair of shin pads, invisible shin pads. Let me elaborate. You are sitting here today because you have mastered the art of resiliency. You never gave up, not once. I want you to think about the weeks that have tested you the most. For me, it was this past fall semester when I had 3 presentations, 2 reports, 2 midterms, all in the span of 4 days, AKA the week that kicked me in the shins. If you think back to your situation that you were in, while the shock you were in startled you, may have made you stumble, taken a step back, you slowly regained the trust you had in your abilities. You stood back up and continued on the path to fulfill your goals. And it is these moments of pure chaos that prepare us to face the uncertainty once we enter the real world. I'm told the real world starts in about 2 hours or so. Yikes. So as we enter this real world, please promise yourself this: never, ever let your work become comfortable. You see, when we are comfortable, our minds sit in the back seat while our habits take the wheel. How can we be expected to inspire others when we ourselves are not challenged? Be confident in your ability to innovate and disrupt. Many of the world's most groundbreaking innovations were once ideas that were ridiculed in boardrooms. So speak up. Never let your hesitation be your downfall. I had the pleasure of attending last year's graduation formal, and I will always remember this line from Dean Leonard Waverman's speech. He stated that evening that if you do not wake up excited for work every day, you are not in a job that is right for you. You see, the job market will always be competitive, but that is not a reason to settle. You have an obligation and a freedom to choose the career that is best suited for your skills and values. Don't compromise. And please never be afraid of mistakes. It is important to remember, and it's a very important life lesson, that the positive aspect of failure far outweighs any negative repercussions. I actually only learned this lesson about 3 months ago, so bear with me. As a competitive person, which I'm sure a lot of you are, the smallest of setbacks would tear me apart. Until that is, my astounding Commerce housemates who are in the audience graduating today have taught me the most important life lessons I've ever received, and I quote them when I say this. They told me that a person who succeeds at everything is a person who has never been tested to their full capabilities. If you have never lost, you cannot comprehend the significance of winning. After all, we learn from our falls and not from our victory dances. So please remember, from this moment on, treat your setbacks as momentum to take that next step forward. So, as DeGroote graduates, we all have a lot of heavy lifting on our shoulders. We each have the responsibility of making ethical and sustainable business decisions that can positively impact our people, our organization, our environment, and our community. Piece of cake, right? Can't be worse than the 3FA3 final. I hope you continue to bleed maroon long after we leave today. Stay confident in your ability to succeed, but never reject an opportunity to learn. Before I go, I have some final wishes for the students in each stream. Accountants, I hope you live a balanced lifestyle. Information systems grads, I hope your heads aren't always in the cloud. HR friends, I hope you hire more than you fire. Please don't fire me. My fellow marketing peers, I hope you never swat away a chance to think outside the box. Supply chain operations graduates, I hope you procure greatness on the daily. Oh, and finally, finance graduates, you will receive the fastest ROI out of anybody else in this room. So good job. Thanks a lot. So, congratulations to the magnificent class of 2017. I wish you health, happiness, and prosperity, and I'll see you at homecoming.
Thank you very much, Gabriella. May I now call upon our President, Dr. Patrick Dean, who will present the President's Awards for Outstanding Contributions to Teaching and Learning.
The President's Award for Outstanding Contributions to Teaching and Learning is conferred upon Dr. Anna Danielova, Associate Professor in the DeGroote School of Business. Dr. Danielova, characteristically, is not with us today. She's at a conference on improving teaching and learning appropriately. But I will read her citation nevertheless, and one of her colleagues will receive the award in her stead. Pedagogy that bridges theory and practice, brings real-world business issues into the classroom, elevates peer learning, and empowers students to take control of their education are the principles around which Dr. Anna Danielova has grounded her teaching philosophy and practice. Since 2004, Dr. Danielova's leadership in teaching and learning at McMaster has been evidenced by her involvement in the development and redesign of 6 courses, including the first-year finance curriculum in the MBA program at the DeGroote School of Business. As a finance instructor, Dr. Danielova has consistently achieved high student evaluations for her approachable and effective teaching practices, finding ways to make complex financial material accessible for students who have historically found the program extremely difficult. Students have consistently identified Dr. Danielova as one of the most important instructors they encountered in the course of their studies, stating her influence and support as key contributing factors to their decisions to pursue careers in finance. Dr. Danielova has also innovatively used experiential case-based approaches in her courses in order to ensure that the students receive both the theory and practical applications that will be necessary for working in a finance-related field. As such, many students attribute their success in securing co-op placements and full-time positions to the courses they took with Dr. Danielova. In addition to her teaching, Dr. Danielova has also served on the program development committees of the Executive MBA in Digital Transformation and the Master of Science in Business Analytics, and is the recipient of several teaching awards. Dr. Danielova's teaching and service has helped raise McMaster's profile as an institution that values excellence in instruction, and all of this makes her a most deserving recipient of a 2017 President's Award for Outstanding Contributions to Teaching and Learning. And I'll ask her colleague, Dr. John Medcoff, to accept the award on Dr. Danielova's behalf.
Congratulations to Anna. May I now introduce Mr. Don Bridgman from the McMaster Alumni Association, who will now deliver the Alumni Association address.
Chancellor Labarge, President Dean, award winners, honorees, McMaster faculty, fellow alumni, guests, and especially members of the master class of 2017. If this convocation could talk, it might tell you your life is changing, so come on down to Hamilton Place, participate in this ancient ritual while your parents take pictures of you in a borrowed gown. Well, more seriously, this crossing of the stage means much more. It marks one of the most significant changes in your life. I had a nice angle where I was sitting watching everyone cross the stage, and, well, with the exception of Michael's dance across the stage, which showed great enthusiasm and pride, I could see that enthusiasm and pride in the eyes of everyone as they cross the stage. And Gabriella, thank you for your sales pitch of saying, please continue to bleed maroon, because now, as you are all part of the Alumni Association, alumni of McMaster, we encourage you to stay involved. I do have to tell you, though, that all of the graduates who had friends and family who didn't listen to the instructions about cheering will have their degrees removed immediately after this session. I know it was hard to hold back, but I know everyone who's attending today was so enthusiastic and so excited to see your friends, relatives, children graduate. You're moving from a career as a student to a career as a professional, or from being an undergraduate student to being a graduate student. Or maybe you're just going to trade in the goals and routines of university for something more free-form and personal, at least for a while. We all experience the graduation transition in our own way. When I graduated from McMaster, I had played on the varsity basketball team, and I was relatively well known for my ability to dunk the basketball. Well, today, 39 years later, or more accurately, I should say 75 pounds later, I'm not sure I could even jump over a basketball. So some of your life transitions will be more rewarding than others. What won't change, though, is that McMaster will always be part of you, and you will always be part of McMaster. At times, that connection will feel very strong. Other times, it may take a backseat to other priorities in your life. But when you do want to turn that lifelong relationship into an activity, a social media connection, volunteering, or any one of a dozen other kinds of opportunity, the McMaster Alumni Association will be there for you. That's our job. You can read about your alma mater, your fellow alumni, and your classmates in the McMaster Times Magazine or on our e-newsletter, Maroon Mail. You can be part of the MAC alumni communities on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And if you'd like, you can follow me on my personal Twitter if you'd like. Well, actually, I don't have a Twitter account. I looked it up, and there are 5 other Don Bridgmans, and in a total, they have 10 followers. So I may be actually the saddest name on the internet. If you're interested in something less virtual, you can experience activities and opportunities from our MAC 10 program, which is a connected series of events and services, including social activities, career assistance, mentoring, and online and in-person networking, designed specifically for new grads like you. When you find yourself at other points of transition in your life, you can turn to the Alumni Association for help with home insurance, life insurance, mortgages, credit cards, and travel services, just to give you a few examples. And this outstanding affinity program that we have with these high-quality product providers has generated now in the neighborhood of $1 million a year that the Alumni Association puts back into scholarships, into bursaries, into the Student Center, into Alumni Affairs. So take the Alumni Center, the athletic complex. So please take a look at those services seriously, and we would love you to participate. You can even join your fellow alumni at one of the hundreds of events we organize annually in places from Hamilton to Halifax to Hong Kong. When you leave here today, I know it's likely that nothing I've said you will remember or stick with you, except maybe the joke about jumping over a basketball, but that's fine. But hopefully you will take with you the cutout card we left for you on your seat. When you get a few minutes, take the How Maroon Are You quiz described on the card. You'll need to visit alumni.mcmaster.ca, where you can learn all you need to know about the McMaster Alumni Association. But for now, don't worry about that. Just remember that the McMaster Alumni Association is ready to be part of your life whenever you want it to be. And also remember, I really could dunk. I really could do it easily, but not dressed like this. I needed my gym shorts and my maroon Chuck Taylor Converse shoes. So, members of the class of 2017, congratulations on your convocation and welcome to the McMaster Alumni Association. We are very proud indeed to have you join the MAC alumni family. Well done.
Thank you, Don. I would now like to invite Dr. Dean back to the podium to deliver his President's address.
Well, this has been a lovely afternoon. I was struck by Dr. Mansbridge's comments in his words to you about the wonderful and absorbing drama that is played out on the stage during convocation. It's always immensely exciting to sit in the front row and shake the hands of all of you. It gives one a great deal of faith and optimism for the future. And it's about that I wanted to say a few words to you before we let you go. As you can tell, we're reluctant to let you go, hence there's another speech. But this is the last one, I promise. Canada's mandatory long-form census was restored, I think many of you here today will remember, approximately 18 months ago. At the time, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development, the Honourable Navdeep Bains, asserted that Canadians were, and these were his words, reclaiming their right to accurate and reliable information on the basis of which they would be able to make sound decisions about their personal and the national futures. Then last August, with the 2016 census of population complete, Canada's chief statistician, Wayne Smith, pronounced it, this is again a quote from him, the best census ever, with an overall response rate of 98.4%. Then a few weeks ago, at the start of May, Statistics Canada released a second series of data derived from the census, this time bearing on the age and the sex of the Canadian population. And this report made big news. I imagine many of you saw it covered in the papers. The reason it made big news is because of what the 2016 census had revealed, namely that Canada has, in the last few years, undergone a very significant generational shift. Here's a quote from the StatsCan report. As a result of the rapid increase in the number of people 65 years of age and older since 2011, 2016 marked the first time that the census enumerated more seniors at 5.9 million than children 14 years of age and younger at 5.8 million. Well, what does this mean? One thing it tells us is that the Canadian population is aging, not that we didn't all know that already, in a crude sense at least. But the census story is all about changing proportions. For the first time since Confederation in 1867, the seniors' share of the population now exceeds the children's share. And the group in between, the group in which all of our graduates pretty well today fall, the group of 15 to 64-year-olds, is shrinking as a proportion of the total population. Now, I know I have a right to this kind of information, but to be frank, I never know quite what to do with it. The StatsCan report tells me that such knowledge, quote, will be especially helpful for adapting social programs for children, adults, and seniors to the new demographic reality, end of quote. But I wonder about that. Undoubtedly, it will help us identify and understand this new demographic reality. But what it will mean to adapt to that reality is much more than a statistical question. Implicit in the phrase demographic reality is an assumption that certain consequences must inevitably follow the shift. For example, that funding for health and social programs will now move proportionately to favor the aging and the elderly, even as the working population that must pay for those programs is shrinking. Now, that may be logical, and providing proper care to the elderly, no matter how numerous they are, should be a non-negotiable requirement in a civilized nation. But there are, nevertheless, vitally important questions we must still ask about the condition of and the prospects for the younger generation, your generation, in this scenario. These are especially important questions to ask in 2017 as Canada marks 150 years as a nation. Anniversaries like the 150th provoke retrospection, and they also sometimes provoke an opportunity for jingoism and mindless patriotic fervor. And I dare say we'll see plenty of that in Canada when July the 1st rolls around. But so far, this country has taken note of its special year in a characteristically muted fashion, recognizing, especially on university campuses, that while there is much to celebrate in our history, there is also much about which we should be thoughtful and critical. Canada's sesquicentennial is also an occasion to look into the future, imagining what Canada will become in the next 50 or 100 years. And it is in that context that the 2016 census results are, for me, so thought-provoking. We're being told that a far-reaching and unprecedented generational shift is happening right now, just as we're running up the anniversary flag. Interestingly, it is a shift that sends us back to our last big national event, our centennial in 1967. It is interesting because that year coincided with another very significant and related generational shift. The middle of the 60s is generally understood to be the end point of the baby boom, the population surge which began in 1946 after the end of the Second World War, and it is the aging members of that generation whose entry into the ranks of seniors over the last few years have given rise to the demographic changes that the 2016 census recently revealed. I am a baby boomer, and it was my generation that seemed so incomprehensible to our parents that a special term had to be coined to describe the phenomenon. This was the generation gap. One experienced the generation gap as significant and sometimes very profound differences of opinion about music, politics, personal values, and a host of other topics. Families like my own became cultural battlegrounds. I remember my father, inexplicably to me, I must say, being plunged into a red-faced fury when he discovered in my elder brother's clothing drawer a pair of blue jeans with an extravagant floral design and a shirt with, of all things, puffed sleeves. I think if any of you can imagine 60s fashions, you have an idea of what these offensive garments looked like. Now, my own differences with my parents were less sartorial than they were political in nature. But as I have reflected on those times, I've come to understand that those two categories of resistance were, for my generation, not really separable. To a degree not since seen in the West, how, or indeed whether, one clothed one's body was contested terrain between the generations, a language through which other, sometimes deeply divergent views expressed themselves. The generation gap was a term invented by sociologists, building on the theory of generations developed by Karl Mannheim in the 1920s. For Mannheim, a generation was not simply a cohort of people born and achieving maturity between specified years. It was such a cohort for sure, but it was also one upon which certain major historical events had registered an impact. A generation was, in other words, shaped by its particular historical experience. Mine was, for example, post-war and post-Hiroshima, but definitely not post-nuclear, as we lived in daily apprehension of a nuclear apocalypse. My wife remembers that as a child in school, she was trained to climb under her desk and cover her head in anticipation of an atomic blast. It would be indeed surprising if such practices had not left an indelible mark on the generation for which they were routine and normal. While the 2016 Canadian population census seems to confirm that we're in the midst of a decisive generational shift, it is obviously far too early to speculate on the qualitative dimensions of whatever gap might open up between your generation and mine. Indeed, it is entirely possible, notwithstanding Mannheim's implication that some sort of generational consciousness will inevitably emerge, that dislocation and discontinuity will not define the ways in which we relate to each other. Now, there will certainly be economic and other consequences of the aging of the Canadian population. And today, as I speak to an auditorium full of graduates from the School of Business, I'm acutely conscious of some of them and the challenges they will pose to the prosperity of the nation. One might think most obviously of the increasing strain on the healthcare system as seniors come to outnumber children and the active wealth-producing workforce shrinks. So looking into the future, as one does on occasions such as this, and as our nation will do on July the 1st, it is obvious that significant challenges lie ahead as the torch passes from one generation to the next. But I, like Dr. Mansbridge in his remarks earlier on, am profoundly hopeful about the future because of my faith in all of you. The well-known anthropologist Margaret Mead published in 1970 a serious study of intergenerational relations. The book is called Culture and Commitment, a study of the generation gap, in which she beautifully captured the service which every new generation performs for its society and for humanity at large. The young, she wrote, are free to act on their initiative and can lead their elders in the direction of the unknown. The young must ask the questions that we would never think to ask, and through creativity, curiosity, and innovativeness, find answers that their elders cannot imagine. I've worked in universities for more than 40 years and have always, I must say increasingly, been invigorated by the way in which students have sought to challenge received wisdom and to advance the human, intellectual, economic, and social project. If there was ever a gap between us, and I suppose following Mannheim that there must always be at least some form of intergenerational discontinuities, I have strained always to hear your voices from the other side of the gap, to learn from what you have had to say and from what you have done. Margaret Mead felt that while the young should be free to act on their initiative, they also needed somehow to re-establish trust with their elders, quote, so that the elders will be permitted to work with them on the answers, end of quote. According to that vision of generational shift then, your future is a project on which we collaborate, my generation providing what knowledge and wisdom we can, but depending on all of you to surpass us in making this a brighter world. I haven't dwelt on the challenges you will face, except, of course, for the looming healthcare problem in our country. And I also haven't talked more broadly about the role of my generation in creating some of those problems that you will face. This is meant to be an upbeat occasion after all. But if you need to trust us in order to achieve the solutions you seek, we need to admit our failings and shortcomings and trust to your energy, creativity, and positive values. I became an educator 4 decades ago, not just for something to do, but for something I wanted to see created, a better, more just society. The well-being of people and of the communities they comprise has been my preoccupation. And unlike many of my peers, I do not believe that my generation was unique in its idealism, altruism, or its social conscience. I know from working with many of you that those 3 things are as much, if not more, alive amongst you than they ever were amongst my peers. And that is in its own way a bit of a miracle, given the state of the world that we're in the process of handing over to you. We delight in your success. We are in awe of your talent. And we are excited to see where you will all take us. My very best wishes for the future.
Congratulations to the class of 2017. As a fellow McMaster alumna, I'm looking forward to seeing where you all go from here. And as Mr. Bridgman says, you are now graduates and members of a wonderful group of alumni. And I'm just going to digress because I realized that it actually was 50 years ago that I sat where you sat. And I can tell you, I have no idea who the chancellor was. I don't know who the president was either, and I don't even know if we had an honorary degree recipient. But I do remember the ceremony, and I do remember at the end of it the pride of my parents as we took the pictures that I found in a box a little while ago, but of our success, of having achieved something, and I hope all of you have that today. But the other thing I thought about is, what did I take away? Well, again, I wish this for all of you. I took away some absolutely wonderful friendships that have withstood 50 years of knowing each other. I took away, obviously, a base of education, which is obsolete in anybody's terms today, but provided a foundation from which I could always learn. And even more importantly, I took away a renewed sense of curiosity. I've never figured out why we think it's wonderful when little kids ask questions and get annoyed with adults who do. And actually, there's a study that said that people who are curious are also the best learners. And it's only the best learners who are going to survive in the rapidly changing world you all face. And so I hope that your time here has reawoken your curiosity. We watched it. If you look at our honorary degree recipients today, they didn't have education, but they did have curiosity. And it took them to enormous heights. And whether it's in the scientific field, whether it's in humanities, whether it's in social sciences, you can change things by just asking questions. And so I wish all of you the opportunity to ask the questions and to use that information to help contribute to society. And with that, I wish you all the very best as you go forward to your next career. Now, before I let you go to celebrate however you're going to celebrate this evening, I have a couple of housekeeping items to tell you about before we close. Immediately following convocation, a reception will be held for the business graduates and their guests in Hamilton Convention Center, Wentworth Room C. Flowers that have been delivered for graduates will be available at the coat check in the main lobby. And I would ask that you please remain standing at your seats until the academic procession and the graduates have left the hall. Finally, please join now in the singing of our national anthem. After the singing of the anthem, this convocation stands adjourned.